So my reference image is this barn home. My location is West Sacramento in the rural field on an acre. So you're just going to use a piece of printer paper or a piece of sketch paper. You don't need anything big for this or anything fancy. You need a drawing pencil, an eraser, and a ruler. This is a sketch, so you don't have to do all of your lines and all of your perspective lines perfectly, but you might want to start with a few just to get you started. So if I were you, I would choose a horizon line that's pretty high because it's going to give you more space to do your building. So I'm going to put mine up here. I suggest that you guys use your your hard lead that's light instead of your soft dark lead, because if you want to erase, it's going to be hard. I'm using
Which
the
paper are
dark.
we using?
I'm using the dark one because you guys can't see the light one when I'm doing my demo. So it's the one that says either HB, or just test them both out, and whichever one's lightest, you want to use that one. I
Miss
also,
Granger,
yes.
which paper do we use?
I said use either sketch paper or printer paper. This is just a
Okay,
sketch. This is not your finished final drawing.
Miss Granger,
Uh-huh.
are we supposed to be following along or just watching right now?
You're just watching me right now.
Okay.
I'm going to set you loose to work on it, but I do want you to watch this part. All right, so we're doing 2-point perspective. So to remind you how to do that, you're going to have 2 points on your horizon line, and we're seeing this building from the corner. So we're actually going to draw the corner of the building. So I think that I want the intake of my population to look like a barn, and then the rest will probably be a little bit different, or like simpler versions of the barn, because I don't think I could build a bunch of barns on this property. But I want the outside of it and the entrance to kind of look like a barn. So, and I love this wraparound porch. So, but the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of establish a cube, a rectangular 3-dimensional structure that I could draw the barn into. So I drew the side of the building, and now I'm drawing this face, which always goes back to your vanishing point, and then this face, which always goes back to your other vanishing point. And then I have to decide, well, is this the entrance or is this the entrance? I think I might make this the entrance. It feels like a little bit more space here to kind of represent that. So, and I maybe will make it a little smaller. Now remember, this is your landscape. This is a huge space. Let's say that it's an acre. For me, it's an acre from here to here. Okay, so this is all 1 acre. So I don't need to draw this too huge. And for our final drawing, you guys are going to be using bigger paper. This is just a sketch. So it's kind of the opposite of what I'm getting there. So I think it needs to be longer this way. Okay? And then reminding you, straighten that line up, that to draw the back of it with 2-point, you're going to go from this point over here and from this point over here. Now we don't need to do the back of it in terms of making a transparent cube, because we're not going to really see that. All you need is this. So then I suggest once you do that, you've sort of established like where the first part of your building is, and it's the entrance. So I'm going to erase these lines so that they don't get in the way of the rest of my structure. I'm going to be drawing a lot of lines. Now for your sketch, you do not need to do this over and over and over again. I would suggest to just draw like the front of your building with the perspective, so you have a grounding, like an anchor point to start. So we've got this as our structure to start. Now one little note, when you're drawing things inside your structure, you still have to follow the rules of perspective. So if I wanted to draw this porch that wrapped around, I would still have to use my rules of perspective. So that means maybe the porch starts here at this point and it still goes back. I'm not going to draw it all the way back, I'm just going to do that. Okay, and then it would come forward like this, and then there would be an angle to it, right? And then this line needs to go back this way. All lines lead to your vanishing points, no matter what. If you can remember that, then this drawing will look accurate. It's going to take some practice. It's not an easy thing to figure out right away, but you will. I promise you will figure it out, and I will help you. Okay, so now I have this overhang structure that's kind of right here, and we're looking down on it, looking down on this building. So now this part is sort of the top of the barn, and I can tell that it kind of goes in at an angle here, and then it comes up at a point here. So I might want to draw that in there. And then it goes back into space. There's a ridge to that roof. I have to go to my vanishing point. And the end of this has to go to my vanishing point. Okay, so that's kind of my roof line. I'm going to erase this. And then I don't really need this edge here, or this corner here, because the roof slopes, kind of slopes down like that. So I rounded it out. And then if you have any windows in there, they also have to follow the rules of perspective. So say, let's just put one window in here just to show you what I mean. So that's the bottom of the window, and that's the top of the window. And then these are the sides. No, wait. These go perpendicular to your edges here. So one like that, one like that. So now that window is now in perspective. Everything goes back to your points. Okay? And then we can get into fun stuff like, you know, we'll get in, you're not going to color anything in yet. This is going to be a full pencil drawing with textures and everything, shading and all that, but we'll get into that later. So now I have my basic barn. So now I have to think about, well, this is where people enter, right? And so what happens inside this space? So then I can start taking notes. I can say entrance. This is your sketch. This is to give you some idea. And then maybe there's a waiting room. Okay. And then as we enter the space and we're waiting, what happens after we're done waiting? Well, I was talking about studio spaces. So if I wanted to serve a population of maybe 10 students at a time, or 10 teens at a time, and each one has their own studio space for what, like an hour and a half as their therapy session, then I need 10 separate studios. Okay, then I can go back and I can make a note of that, 10 studios. Okay, and then equals 1.5 hours each. And you can even calculate that. So if I had 10 studios and I was open for 8 hours a day, how many people could I serve in one day? So that's a good thing to think about too. I like the question of does your population use the inside mostly, or the outside, or inside and outside? Well, the answer to my question is because we're in California and we have such good weather here most of the time when it's not smoky. I would want my artists to have access to the outside spaces. So I'm going to start thinking about that. Like where are these studios? Are they like on the top floor of the barn? Maybe let's say there's four studios upstairs. And then guess what? Maybe I can make them a balcony. And so this is where we get into sketch. I don't want you to have to draw all the perspective lines right now. So just think about, you have these guidelines here, right? Maybe there's a balcony here. And that balcony is where they can be outside. So they could go put their easel out here if they want to. They can do landscape painting. Say there's some pretty trees out here and, you know, sunset and all that. Maybe there's even a balcony out on this side. And maybe this is a place for them to have some privacy but be outside. And we can label it balcony. Okay, so that's 4 studio spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got 4. Now I need some other spaces. So maybe I want a gap between this main entrance and what's beyond. So maybe I start putting buildings, studio spaces that have some glass in them. Wouldn't that be cool? So here we go with some more boxes. Maybe there's grass here and seats. Maybe the outside that they can eat outside, right? And maybe there's, I've always loved nurseries. You know how it's like arched here and it's all made of glass. So maybe we could pretend like there's some nurseries. So the front facing part is glass. And then maybe there's plants in there. Plants are good for oxygen and happiness. And then maybe this structure has 2 studios. So maybe this one, the person that's in this space, they don't share a space, right? Because you need privacy when you're going through therapy. So when you're looking, when you're looking out here, this is their outside space, and then this person has like a patch of grass out here. Okay, so there's 2 more. So 6. So I need 4 more. Maybe 2 here, and then maybe there's like a special space out here. Maybe once a month they get to go to this special space, which is out here kind of in the distance. So maybe this space is only meant for, like, I don't know, sculpture or something. Maybe the person that's building something in here is a sculptor. Maybe there's sculptures in the garden. We can have a big sculpture garden out here, like work the teens have created. It's on display out in the field. Wouldn't that be cool? So just use this as an opportunity to think things through, come up with ideas, take notes, scrap ideas, make up ideas. It's just your way of like coming up with some ideas, okay? So that's all I want you to do today. So I want you to